I mean, imagine for a second that you walk into your local grocery store to buy a carton of eggs.
Okay.
You walk over to the dairy aisle.
Yeah.
You pick up a dozen large brown eggs, and the digital price tag on the shelf says, like, $4.
Right. Totally normal.
Yeah, completely normal. But right as you turn your shopping cart to head to the checkout lane, somebody else in the store, maybe a guy, 3 aisles over, also grabs a carton of eggs.
Oh, I see where this is going.
And suddenly, the digital price tag in your carton flashes, beeps, it just jumps to $6.
Right.
Then you finally reach the register. The cashier scans your eggs, looks at your wrist, notices you're wearing like a pretty nice watch and a tailored suit.
Yeah, they size you up.
Exactly. They decide you must be late for a corporate meeting, and they just manually change the price to $12.
I mean, it sounds like an absolute dystopia when you frame it that way. We would literally riot if supermarkets operated like that. You just leave the cart and walk out.
Exactly. We completely expect a fixed, rational price based on the actual cost of goods. But then you step into the world of booking airline tickets, and suddenly that absurd, shifting, invisible grocery store is just, well, it's just the accepted reality.
It really is.
We are looking at a pricing landscape that is chaotic, frustrating, and honestly designed to make you feel completely out of control.
It is the absolute definition of a rigged game. At least, if you don't know the rules.
Right.
It's an environment specifically coded to create urgency, to instill confusion, and ultimately to just extract the maximum amount of money from your wallet.
And that is exactly why we are here today. Welcome to this deep dive.
Right.
Today we are focusing on a topic that affects you, affects me, and literally anyone who loves to travel or has family in another state or, has to fly for work.
Which is pretty much everyone.
Yeah, everyone. We are tackling the deeply baffling world of booking cheap flights. And we aren't just going over light, breezy travel tips today. We are going all in.
We really are.
We've gathered a massive stack of insider travel guides, breakdowns of airline algorithms, and strategies from people who fly around the world for a living.
The heavy hitters.
Exactly. The mission today is to completely demystify the airline pricing algorithm. We are going to separate the persistent myths from the actual data-backed money-saving strategies.
Because there are a lot of myths out there.
So many. And we want to arm you with the exact tools and mindset needed to never overpay for a flight again.
It really is about leveling the playing field, because right now, the house has all the advantage.
They really do.
Yeah.
Let me give you a teaser that really just blew my mind when I was reviewing the material for this deep dive.
Oh yeah, this story is wild.
It's crazy. There's an insider who shared a story about booking a return flight from Lahore, Pakistan to Tokyo, Japan. They spent 2 weeks in Japan, and on the way back, they flew business class.
The dream.
Lie-flat seats, champagne, the whole 9 yards. Guess how much they paid?
Just for context, a ticket like that, retail, depending on the carrier, is easily $3,000, maybe $4,000.
Easily. This person paid $340 total.
That is just incredible. And that's not just a lucky break or like knowing somebody who works at the ticket counter.
Right. The most important thing emphasized in this story is that this was not a fluke. This is a repeatable skill.
Yeah.
And if it's a skill, it means you can learn it. But to learn it, we have to start at the very foundation. Before we can start beating the system, we have to actually understand what the system is.
Exactly.
And in this case, the system is the algorithm.
Which brings us right into the machine itself. The term to know here, the absolute bedrock of modern airline economics, is dynamic pricing.
Dynamic pricing.
Yeah. Airline prices aren't set by a human sitting at a desk crossing out numbers on a chalkboard anymore. They're governed by highly sophisticated, incredibly aggressive computer algorithms.
Just constantly crunching numbers.
Constantly, relentlessly adjusting the price of every single seat based on a massive web of variables.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I think most of us assume it's just, basic supply and demand. The plane gets fuller, the price goes up. Is it really that much more complex than that?
I mean, supply and demand is the baseline, sure. But it goes so much deeper than just counting empty seats.
Like, what else are they looking at?
These algorithms factor in the time of year, what competitor airlines are charging on that exact same route, down to the minute.
Down to the minute?
Down to the minute. They look at historical booking data from previous years, and most importantly, how close you are to the departure date.
Right. The ticking clock.
Exactly. The algorithm has one singular, ruthless goal, and that is to extract the highest possible amount of money for every individual seat on that plane.
It's basically a machine designed to figure out your personal pain point.
Yes.
It knows that if you are booking a flight 2 days before departure, you are probably desperate.
Oh, absolutely.
You have a family emergency or a last-minute business deal that you have to close in person. You have no leverage. You have to fly.
Exactly. In economics, that's called inelastic demand.
Inelastic demand, okay.
Yeah, the algorithm senses that inelasticity, and it spikes the price exponentially. It knows you'll pay it because you have no other choice.
Wow.
But it also knows when a route has low competition or when a massive holiday is coming up. The price of a ticket has almost nothing to do with the actual cost of the jet fuel or the pilot's salary and the physical labor to get you from point A to point B.
Which is wild to think about.
It is entirely based on your willingness to pay.
Which brings us to a concept that legitimately made me groan out loud when I read it.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
I just realized how much money I've personally wasted over the years. It's called the fare bucket system.
It is a profound realization when you finally see the invisible matrix of how seats are actually grouped and sold.
So break this down for us, because I've always assumed there's basically an economy price, a premium economy price, and a first class price. But that's a total illusion, isn't it?
It is a complete illusion. Airlines divide the seats in the standard economy cabin into multiple invisible tiers.
Which they call buckets.
Right. The industry calls them fare buckets.
Oh.
So let's visualize a hypothetical flight with 100 economy seats.
Okay, 100 seats.
To the naked eye, they all look exactly the same. They have the same legroom, the same questionable snacks.
Right, the tiny pretzels?
Yeah, the pretzels.
Yeah.
But they aren't all priced at $200. The algorithm might place 10 seats in the lowest bucket at $150.
Okay.
Another 20 seats are placed in a slightly higher bucket priced at $250. Another group of 30 seats is at $400. And the remaining seats might be priced all the way up to $800 for last-minute buyers.
Okay, so think about the last time you tried to book a trip for your family. Say you have a family of 4 and you want to go to Orlando.
Classic trip.
You go to the airline website, and the very first thing you do is select 4 passengers from that little drop-down menu, right?
Sure.
That is the trap.
It is a massive automated trap. This is such a critical mechanism to understand.
Let's look at the map on why this ruins your budget.
Yeah.
If you search for 4 tickets all at once, the algorithm looks at its remaining fare buckets.
Right.
Let's say there is only 1 seat left in that super cheap $150 bucket. But there are plenty of seats in the next bucket up, the $250 bucket.
Okay, following.
Logically, as a consumer, you would expect the airline to sell you that 1 cheap ticket for $150 and then charge you $250 for the other 3, right? Like mix and match to give you the best average price.
No, it absolutely will not do that.
Which is so frustrating.
The algorithm is designed for simplicity on their end and maximum profit.
It automatically bumps all 4 of your tickets into the next most expensive bucket that can accommodate your entire group.
Exactly.
So it charges you $250 for all 4 tickets. You just paid $1,000 instead of $900. You lost $100 simply because you grouped your family together in the search bar.
What's fascinating here is the absolute rigidity of the coding. The algorithm is designed to find a single fare class that accommodates the quantity you requested.
It just won't mix them.
It won't split an itinerary across different fare buckets. So the strategy is incredibly simple. Always search for flights 1 passenger at a time.
So I just run the search for 1 person. If I see it's $150, I buy that single ticket. Then I start a brand new search for the remaining 3 people and buy those at the $250 rate.
Yes.
I save $100 for an extra 60 seconds of clicking.
Precisely. And sometimes it gets even better.
Really?
Yeah. Purchasing that 1 cheap ticket sometimes triggers the airline's inventory management system to release another seat into that lowest bucket, depending on their load targets.
Oh, wow. So it could cascade.
Yeah. You have to isolate the variables to force the system to show you the lowest possible entry point.
It's wild. But speaking of isolated variables, I have to bring up a massive debate.
Okay, let's hear it.
For years, literally a decade, every travel blog, every friend, every piece of conventional wisdom has told me to use incognito mode on my web browser when searching for flights.
Ah, the incognito mode debate.
Right. The idea is that airlines track your cookies, they see you looking at a flight to Paris over and over, and they maliciously raise the price to panic you into buying.
I hear this constantly.
I have religiously used incognito mode, but is it actually doing anything?
This raises a really important question about how we perceive our own digital footprints and, corporate surveillance. And there is a massive contradiction in the travel community about this.
Right. You have YouTubers and travel vloggers who absolutely swear by clearing their cache using incognito windows or even firing up a VPN to pretend they are browsing from a different country just to dodge these supposed tracking price hikes.
You do. But then look at the other side of the data. Look at the industry insiders, specifically the people who work at massive flight deal aggregators.
The people who do this all day.
Exactly. These are companies whose entire multi-million-dollar business model relies on finding the cheapest possible flights for their subscribers.
Right.
They employ human flight experts who search thousands of routes every single day, and they emphatically, definitively claim that the incognito mode tracking is a total myth.
A total myth. They say they literally never use incognito mode.
Think about the pure data volume they are processing. If the airline algorithms were truly designed to spike prices based on repeated searches from the exact same IP address...
They trigger it constantly.
Exactly. They hit the same routes 50 times a day. Their screens would just be a wall of artificially inflated prices, but they aren't. They find the lowest deals on standard open browsers.
But wait, I want to push back on this because I have seen it happen with my own eyes.
Let's walk through it.
I search for a flight on a Tuesday, and it's $300. I think about it, I talk to my wife, I go back to the exact same website on Wednesday, and it's $450.
Yeah.
If it's not because they're tracking my cookies, why did the price go up? It feels deeply personal.
It feels personal, but it's purely mathematical. It goes right back to the dynamic pricing and those invisible fare buckets we just talked about.
The buckets.
Right. The price didn't jump because the airline is punishing your specific computer for looking twice. It jumped because between Tuesday and Wednesday, somebody else, maybe halfway across the country, actually bought the very last seat in that $300 fare bucket.
So the bucket emptied out.
Exactly. The bucket emptied, and the system automatically shifted the display price to the next bucket, which happened to be $450.
That makes so much sense.
Or the algorithm sensed a macroeconomic spike in demand for that specific route. Maybe a massive convention was just announced in your destination city.
Like a huge tech conference or something.
Yeah, or maybe a competitor airline canceled a parallel flight, reducing the overall supply of seats in the market. The market shifted globally. It's not a personal vendetta against your browser history.
That is strangely comforting. Understanding that prices are a live reflection of global supply and demand, not some creepy stalker menu looking through my webcam, it frees you.
It really does.
It frees you from the superstitious, paranoid way of booking where you're terrified to even refresh the web page.
Yeah.
You can just look at the data objectively.
Precisely. If we remove the superstition, we can apply actual data-driven strategy.
Yeah.
And knowing how these prices change naturally leads us to the next massive question. When should you actually pull the trigger and buy the ticket?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's get into the timeline. Because everyone wants to know the magic day to buy. Let's rip the Band-Aid off right now, the old Tuesday at midnight rule.
Oh, boy.
The idea that airlines somehow reboot their servers in the middle of the night and all the cheap fares fall out like a broken slot machine, it's completely dead. It is wildly outdated.
It's a relic from the 1990s and early 2000s, an era when airlines literally manually uploaded their new fare sheets to global distribution systems once a week.
That sounds so tedious.
It was. And back then, Tuesday really was a reset day. But we are in the era of dynamic, minute-by-minute, algorithmic pricing now. There is no magic hour. However, there's a very real concept known as the Goldilocks window.
Not too early, not too late. Just right. Let's map this out. If you are flying domestically within your own country, what is the ideal booking window?
For domestic flights, you want to be booking between 1 to 3 months in advance. That is the sweet spot.
Why 1 to 3 months?
Because at that stage, the airline is actively trying to build a baseline of passengers for that flight. They want to get the flight to about 40 or 50% capacity to cover their basic operating costs.
Just to make sure they aren't losing money.
Exactly. So they offer highly competitive rates to attract early leisure travelers.
But wait, if early is good, isn't earlier better? What if I'm hyper-organized and I try to book a domestic flight 9 months in advance?
You actually almost guaranteed to overpay. Yeah, the airline isn't nervous about empty seats 9 months out. They know there's plenty of time, so they leave the prices artificially high to catch people who are inflexible planners.
Yeah.
People who absolutely must have their schedule locked down and are willing to pay a premium for peace of mind.
Okay, so 1 to 3 months is the domestic sweet spot. What about international flights?
International travel requires a longer runway. People need time to get passports, request longer periods of time off work, and coordinate complex logistics.
Yeah, that's a bigger deal.
So the Goldilocks window shifts earlier, typically 2 to 8 months in advance. And if you are taking a massive, ultra-long haul flight, say, crossing the Pacific from Los Angeles to Sydney, you probably want to narrow that to 3 to 6 months out.
Now, here is where this gets completely flipped on its head. There is a massive anomaly in the matrix when it comes to booking business class.
This is one of my favorite quirks in the entire aviation industry because it completely defies conventional consumer logic.
It really does.
Yeah.
If you want to fly business class, the absolute worst thing you can do is book 11 or 12 months in advance when the airline first publishes the flight schedule.
Which is exactly what an eager planner would naturally do, assuming the earliest bird gets the worm.
Right.
But let's look at the psychology of the buyer, who is typically buying long-haul business class tickets a full year in advance.
Corporate travelers, executives going to massive annual trade shows or major shareholder meetings that have been on the books for years.
Exactly. And corporate travelers are what economists call price insensitive.
Because it's not their money.
Right. They aren't spending their own money. They are using a corporate expense account.
Yeah.
Furthermore, their schedules are entirely inflexible. They simply must be on that specific flight on that specific day.
The airlines know this.
Intimately. So when the flight schedule opens up 11 months out, they price business class seats at their absolute maximum peak. They are essentially skimming the cream off the corporate accounts.
So if you aren't a CEO with a black card, when do you buy?
The sweet spot for business class price drops is roughly 2 to 4 months out.
Okay.
That is when the algorithm looks at the front cabin, sees that the initial wave of high-paying corporate buyers has passed, and realizes they still have a dozen empty premium seats to fill.
And they need to get rid of them.
Right. To stimulate demand, the algorithm gradually lowers the price to entice leisure travelers who might be willing to splurge on an upgrade if the price is right.
There are even examples of finding wild business class deals just a week before departure.
Oh, for sure.
Like, if that cabin is sitting there half empty, the airline realizes a $5,000 seat is about to fly for $0.
Right.
They would rather sell it for $1,500 than fly it empty. But I have to say, that is a high-risk game. You need extreme flexibility to wait that long.
Highly risky. Because if a sudden business conference is announced in that city, or it happens to be peak holiday season, those last-minute business fares won't drop. They will skyrocket into the stratosphere.
Okay, so we've covered the best timeline to book. But let's shift gears to the best days to actually fly. Because while the day of the week you sit at your computer to book doesn't matter much anymore, the day you physically walk onto the airplane matters enormously.
It is arguably one of the biggest, most consistent levers you can pull to lower your fare. The cheapest days to fly are, without fail, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays.
Saturdays always surprises people. Everyone assumes the weekend is expensive.
It makes perfect sense when you look at the corporate travel pattern we just discussed. Business travelers fly out on Monday mornings to start the work week, and they fly home on Thursday evenings or Friday afternoons to be with their families.
Right.
So Mondays and Fridays are massive peak demand days. Sundays are similarly packed with weekend leisure vacationers returning home so they can be back at work on Monday.
Which just leaves the middle.
Exactly. That leaves Tuesday and Wednesday as the absolute dead zones for corporate travel, and Saturday as the dead zone for both corporate and weekend getaway travel. The demand plummets, and so the algorithms slash the prices to fill the planes.
And we also have to talk about seasonality, which acts as your ultimate calendar map. The globe basically operates on 3 distinct travel seasons: peak season, off-season, and the absolute holy grail for savvy travelers, shoulder season.
Shoulder season is where you want to live. It is the optimal intersection of cost, comfort, and experience.
Let's break that down. Peak season is obvious: summer in Europe, spring break in Cancun, Christmas basically everywhere.
It's chaos.
Prices are agonizing, every museum is crowded, restaurants are overbooked, it's just stressful. Off-season is the opposite. It's incredibly cheap, but you might be dealing with monsoon rains in Thailand or freezing miserable temperatures in Paris, and half the tourist sites are closed for renovations.
Right, you get what you pay for.
But shoulder season,
It's those magical transitional months. It's October in Europe, when the air is crisp but not freezing. It's early June in Southeast Asia, right before the massive summer rush hits. It's February in Morocco.
The weather is usually still fantastic. The suffocating crowds have vanished. And most importantly, the pricing algorithms deliberately drop the fares and hotel rates to keep the tourism economy churning during a slower period.
Yes.
You get a premium, highly enjoyable experience for a fraction of the cost.
Now, if we connect this timeline back to how the algorithm functions, it's vital to note what happens when you miss these windows entirely.
Well, this is important.
There are specific hard-coded automated tripwires in the airline pricing system. If you're tracking a flight and you cross exactly 21 days before departure, you will almost always see a massive immediate price hike.
The panic tax.
Exactly. At 21 days, the algorithm assumes anyone booking is no longer traveling for a casual vacation. They assume you're traveling for a required reason.
A funeral, a business meeting.
Right. The exact same automated hike happens again at the 14-day mark, and the price curve goes completely vertical at the 7-day mark.
But let's be real. What if you have to fly last minute?
Yeah.
Life happens. Let's say it's an absolute emergency. You need to fly from Delhi to Mumbai in 2 days.
Okay.
You look online, and the algorithm is demanding 49,000 rupees, a completely exorbitant, extortionate amount. What do? Because you can't just not go.
This is where you have to understand the limits of the digital ecosystem and step outside of it.
Outside of it.
Yeah, the smartest move here is to go offline. You literally pick up the phone or walk into local physical brick-and-mortar travel agencies and ask them if they have any group booking tickets available.
I thought this was such a clever hack when I read it.
Yeah.
Explain how this physically works.
Physical travel agencies often pre-purchase massive blocks of seats from airlines months in advance at a negotiated flat wholesale rate.
Okay.
They intend to sell these seats as part of inclusive tour packages. However, they don't always sell every single package.
So they have leftovers.
Exactly. Sometimes they have a few leftover individual tickets for a flight leaving in 48 hours. Because these tickets were purchased outside the airline's dynamic pricing algorithm, the travel agency can sell them to you at a fraction of the current algorithm's panic price. They just want to recoup their wholesale costs.
You completely bypass the machine. You step out of the algorithmic grocery store entirely.
You do. But there's a critical caveat here. These group tickets are strictly non-refundable, non-transferable, and unchangeable.
No flexibility at all.
None. You can't upgrade them. You can't change the name. If your plans shift by even an hour, you lose the ticket entirely. But in an absolute last-minute, must-fly emergency, it is a brilliant loophole to avoid the panic tax.
Okay, so we've established the timing. We know about the Goldilocks window, the shoulder seasons, dodging the fare buckets, and the days of the week to fly. Now, where exactly should you be looking?
The tools.
Because I think the default behavior for most people is to just go directly to delta.com or united.com, type in their dates, and hit search. And that is a massive mistake.
It's essentially walking onto a car lot and accepting the very first sticker price the dealer offers without seeing what anyone else in town is selling.
Right.
You have no leverage and no perspective. You absolutely need to use aggregators, and you need to use the right ones for the right specific reasons.
Let's break down the holy trinity of modern flight search engines. And the absolute undisputed starting point for any trip is Google Flights.
Google Flights is unparalleled for initial research, primarily because of its sheer computational speed and its incredibly clean interface. But it's really two specific tools embedded within Google Flights that make it so exceptionally powerful.
Let's talk about the first one, the date grid. If you have even a tiny bit of flexibility, even just shifting your departure by 1 or 2 days, you punch in your route, say, Chicago to London.
Yeah.
Instead of just looking at the price for the date you entered, you click the little date grid icon. It brings up a massive interactive calendar matrix.
And instantly, you might see that leaving on a Thursday instead of a Friday drops the price by $300. Or returning on a Tuesday instead of a Sunday saves you another $200.
All right there.
The visual layout color codes everything, instantly highlighting the cheapest days in green. It takes seconds to see the macro pricing landscape of your entire month.
It's incredibly satisfying to just click around and watch the price plummet. And the second tool is the Explorer map, which is perfect for when you know you have vacation time, but you don't necessarily know where you want to go.
Oh, the Explorer map is great.
You put in your home airport, let's say Atlanta. You leave the destination completely blank, and a massive interactive world map populates with prices hovering over every major city.
It's fantastic for serendipitous travel. You might be dead set on going to Paris, but the map shows you that a flight to Vienna during your exact vacation window is hundreds of dollars cheaper.
Wow.
It forces you to broaden your horizons based on the economics of the moment.
It turns the whole planning process upside down in the best possible way. Okay, the second tool in our holy trinity is Hopper. I am fascinated by Hopper because its superpower isn't just searching, it's essentially predicting the future.
Hopper is a phenomenal application of machine learning to historical pricing data.
Walk us through how it works. You tell Hopper you want to fly to Tokyo next November. It doesn't just show you today's price.
Right. It takes your route and your dates, and it cross-references them against billions of past flight data points. It looks at how flights to Tokyo in November behaved last year, the year before that, and the year before that.
Just massive data sets.
Then it gives you a literal forecast. It will flash a message saying, wait, prices are currently high, but our models predict they will drop by $50 to $80 in the next 3 weeks.
That is so cool.
Or conversely, it will say, buy now, this is a historic low, and prices are 90% likely to increase in the next 48 hours.
It takes all the emotional anxiety out of the process. You don't have to sit there agonizing over whether you should pull the trigger or wait another day. You just let the AI tell you what to do.
It acts as an incredible data-backed analytical safety net. And then, completing the trinity, is Skyscanner, which shines in a slightly different but equally vital area than Google Flights.
Yes. Skyscanner has two legendary features. First, you can literally type everywhere as your destination, which functions similarly to Google's map, but in a really clean list format. But the real magic is that you can search a whole month instead of specific dates.
Exactly. If you just know you want to go to Europe sometime in September, Skyscanner will sift through the entire 30-day period to pinpoint the absolute rock-bottom day to cross the Atlantic.
Love that.
Furthermore, Skyscanner is deeply integrated with smaller regional budget airlines across Europe, Asia, and South America airlines that Google Flights sometimes struggles to index or ignores entirely.
Which is incredibly vital when you are piecing together a complex, multi-leg journey. You use Google for the big ocean crossing and Skyscanner to hop around the continent once you get there.
Yes, that's the perfect workflow.
Now, speaking of piecing together journeys, there is a tool introduced here that feels like an absolute secret weapon. It's called Kiwi.com. And the core concept here is something called virtual interlining.
This is a fascinating disruption of how airline ticketing has traditionally worked for decades.
Okay, let's break this down carefully. Normally, if I search Google Flights for a trip from New York to a small city in Italy, Google will only show me connections between airlines that have official corporate partnerships, right? Like Delta and Air France, or American Airlines and British Airways.
Correct. Those are called code share agreements. They have legal ticketing agreements that allow them to smoothly transfer your check bags between planes, issue all your boarding passes at the first check-in desk, and most importantly, honor each other's delays. If Delta makes you late, Air France will rebook you on the next flight for free because they are partners.
But Kiwi doesn't care about corporate partnerships at all.
Yeah.
Kiwi uses virtual interlining to act like a rogue travel agent. It will look at a major carrier, say Virgin Atlantic, flying you across the ocean to London. Then it will look at a completely separate, ultra-cheap, unaffiliated local budget airline, like Ryanair, flying from London to your final destination in Italy.
It's so hacky.
It forcibly stitches these totally unrelated airlines together to build a route that no single airline and no standard search engine would ever dynamically generate for you.
The price drops can be absolutely astounding because it forces competition across completely disparate aviation markets. You're combining a premium long-haul market with an ultra-low-cost regional market.
Yeah.
However, there is a massive blinking red warning light associated with this hack.
Yes, the crucial caveat, because wait, if I do this, I'm essentially flying without a safety net, right? If Virgin Atlantic is delayed out of New York by 3 hours and I miss my Ryanair flight in London, Ryanair doesn't care, do they? I'm just sleeping on the floor at Heathrow.
That is exactly the risk. Because those two airlines have absolutely zero relationship with each other, they do not care about your overarching itinerary. Ryanair just sees a passenger who didn't show up for their flight. Your ticket is gone.
Oh, man.
You are officially stranded, and you will have to buy a walk-up fare at exorbitant prices to finish your trip.
That sounds incredibly stressful.
It is, which is why if you use this virtual interlining hack on Kiwi, you absolutely must purchase the Kiwi Guarantee at checkout.
Okay, what is that?
It's their proprietary insurance product. If you buy it, And a delay on the first leg causes a missed connection on the unaffiliated second leg, Kiwi takes responsibility and rebooks you on a new flight at their expense.
Well, nice.
Without that guarantee, the financial risk of a cascading delay is simply too high for the average traveler.
Good to know. Okay, briefly, I want to touch on a tool called the ITA matrix. The notes refer to this as the nerdy MIT superpower. This sounds like something out of a 90s hacker movie.
It essentially is. The ITA matrix is the underlying software engine that was built by computer scientists at MIT, and it actually powers a lot of the modern, pretty search tools we use today, including Google Flights. But the raw matrix itself is publicly available.
But why would I use it if Google Flights is prettier and faster?
Because the matrix allows for extraordinarily complex, granular routing queries that standard search engines hide to keep things simple. It uses specialized routing codes.
Like coding your own flight.
Yeah, you can tell the matrix, I want to fly from Los Angeles to Tokyo, but I absolutely demand my layover be in Honolulu, and I want that layover to be exactly 14 hours long so I can go to the beach, and I only want to fly on airlines in the One World Alliance.
You literally program your exact parameters into a text box.
Exactly. It's heavily text-based, very dense, and not user-friendly at all. It's for the highly advanced power traveler trying to squeeze out every single dollar, engineer a specific layover, or maximize frequent flyer mile accrual.
A bit intense.
For 99% of travelers, Google Flights and Skyscanner are more than sufficient. But it's fascinating to know the engine room is accessible.
So here's where it gets really interesting. Let's say I use Google Flights or Hopper or even the ITA matrix. I find this amazing, incredibly cheap flight. It's the deal of the century. Where do I actually type in my credit card number and pay for it? Do I buy it right there on Skyscanner?
The consensus among travel experts is nearly unanimous on this, and ignoring it causes more travel nightmares than almost anything else. You use the aggregators to find the flight, but you should almost always go book directly with the airline on their official website.
Why? If Skyscanner shows the price is $400 and Delta.com shows $400, what does it matter who takes my money?
It matters intensely because of the customer service chain of command. If you book through a third-party online travel agency, an OTA like Expedia, Kayak, or a random discount site you found through Skyscanner, they technically own your ticket. You bought it from them, not the airline.
Okay, I see where this is going.
So if something goes wrong, say the airline cancels the flight due to weather, or they change the schedule and now you have a 12-hour layover, or you get sick and need a refund, you call the airline.
Naturally.
The airline looks at your reservation and says, sorry, we didn't sell you this ticket. You have to call the travel agency.
Oh, no.
Then you call an online travel agency and they blame the airline's policies. Or worse, their customer service center is completely overwhelmed. You're on hold for 4 hours. Or they charge you their own exorbitant processing fee just to make a change that the airline would have done for free.
It's a nightmare loop of pointing fingers, and you're stuck in the middle with a ruined vacation.
Exactly. When you book directly with the airline, you are their direct customer. The line of communication is clear. If a flight is canceled, you walk up to the gate agent and they rebook you instantly.
That peace of mind is worth it.
The only exception, of course, is if you are booking one of those unique mixed airline virtual interlining routes on Kiwi, because in that specific case, Kiwi is essentially inventing the itinerary and providing the insurance.
That makes perfect sense. Use the tools to hunt, but go to the source to buy. So, having the right tools allows you to see the global map of prices. But what if we don't just accept the map as it is? What if we start manipulating the geography of our travel?
Oh, I love this part.
Let's get into geographic loopholes and routing hacks.
This is where travel booking shifts from a passive shopping experience to an active, strategic game.
And the first major concept here is the positioning flight. When I read the example for this, I honestly had to reread the math because I was so stunned. Explain the logic of a positioning flight.
The underlying logic is based on market density. Major international airport hubs, places like JFK in New York, Heathrow in London, or Changi in Singapore, have massive amounts of competition.
Makes sense. Everyone flies there.
Dozens of airlines fly the same routes out of those hubs every day. High competition aggressively drives prices down. But smaller regional airports have monopolies. So instead of demanding that your journey start exactly at your home regional airport, you strategically decouple the trip into two pieces.
Okay, let's walk through the example from the research. Say I live in Austin, Texas, and I want to fly to Singapore.
Right. You search Austin to Singapore, the algorithm sees that you're starting in a secondary market. It knows there are limited airlines providing that specific, complex routing from Austin all the way to Asia. Because competition is low, the algorithm quotes you $5,200 for a business class ticket.
Ouch, that's a budget breaker.
Now, instead of just sighing and handing over your credit card, you zoom out. You start looking at maps of major international hubs. You check Los Angeles, San Francisco, Vancouver, and you discover a flight from Vancouver, Canada to Singapore for only $3,200.
That is a massive $2,000 difference. Why is it so much cheaper?
Because Vancouver is a massive trans-Pacific hub with heavy competition from multiple Asian and North American carriers. They are fighting for passengers, so prices stay low.
But I am in Austin, not Vancouver. How does this help me?
You decouple the trip. You go ahead and buy that $3,200 international ticket originating in Vancouver. Then you buy a completely separate, cheap domestic ticket from Austin to Vancouver on a budget airline.
Oh, I see.
Let's say that domestic hop costs you $200. You fly to Vancouver, position yourself at the hub, and then take your main long-haul flight. You just paid $3,400 total instead of $5,200. You saved $1,800 simply by adding one cheap positioning leg.
That is absolutely brilliant. I mean, it requires a little more logistical planning you have to make sure you leave a huge buffer of time in Vancouver between flights in case your first one is delayed. Maybe even spend the night in a hotel there. But for $1,800, I will gladly spend an afternoon reading a book in the Vancouver airport.
It works globally in every market. If you live in Lahore, you buy a cheap flight to position yourself in Dubai and launch your international trip from there. If you live in a Midwestern U.S. city, you position to Chicago or New York. You treat your hometown almost like a completely separate, irrelevant trip.
Okay, now we have to talk about the most controversial hack in the entire aviation world. It's called hidden city ticketing, or skip lagging.
This one requires a very serious, explicit disclaimer.
Yes, there are warnings all over this material, but we have to explain how it works because it exposes a major bizarre flaw in how airlines price things. So, what exactly is hidden city ticketing?
It exploits the hub-and-spoke model of modern aviation and the fact that airlines price tickets based on route competition, not the physical distance traveled. Okay. Let's say you live in Atlanta, which is City A, and you want to fly to Orlando, which is City B. You search the direct flight from Atlanta to Orlando, and because it's a direct flight with high demand, the airline charges $400.
Okay, simple enough.
But then you search for a flight from Atlanta to New York City C. Because the Atlanta to New York market is insanely competitive with 5 different airlines fighting for passengers, the airline prices that entire journey at only $250 just to win your business.
Okay.
But here is the catch. That $250 flight to New York happens to have a layover in Orlando City B.
Wait. Even though I am still flying from Atlanta to Orlando as the very first leg of that trip and then continuing on, it's cheaper.
Exactly. You are literally sitting on the exact same plane in the exact same seat flying to Orlando. But because your ticket says your final destination is technically New York, the algorithmic pricing model prices it cheaper to compete in the New York market.
That is so broken.
So, the hack is this. You buy the $250 ticket to New York. You fly the first leg to Orlando, and when the plane lands for the layover, you just stand up, walk out of the Orlando airport, and go to Disney World. You intentionally skip the final leg to New York.
You literally just ghost the airline for the rest of the trip.
You do, and you save $150. But, as we mentioned, there are massive, severe consequences associated with doing this.
Right. First of all, it explicitly violates the airline's terms of service. You sign a contract of carriage when you buy a ticket agreeing to fly the whole route. Now, you won't go to jail. It's not a federal crime, but the airline hates it.
They absolutely despise it because you are messing with their load factors, their logistics, and their entire pricing model. If you do this frequently, and especially if you attach your frequent flyer account to the booking, they can and will take action. They will ban you from the airline, confiscate all your accrued miles, or even send you a bill trying to charge you the difference in fare.
And from a purely logistical standpoint, there is a physical limitation. You absolutely cannot check a bag if you do this.
It is physically impossible. Think about it. When you hand your suitcase to the check-in agent in Atlanta, they'll print a tag for your final ticketed destination, New York. If you walk out of the airport during the layover in Orlando, your luggage is continuing on to New York without you.
Goodbye. Close.
Yeah, you must fly carry-on only, and you have to pray they don't force you to gate check your bag if the overhead bins are full.
It really only works on one-way flights, right?
Correct. The airline computer systems are ruthless about this. The moment you miss any segment of an itinerary, like ghosting that final leg to New York, the system automatically cancels every single remaining flight on that reservation. So if you bought a round-trip ticket and skip-lagged the outbound flight, your return ticket home is instantly voided. You are stranded.
It is a high-wire act. You only do it on a one-way flight with just a backpack, on an airline you don't particularly care about getting banned from. Proceed with extreme caution. Now, here is another geographic loophole that totally threw me. The transatlantic reversal.
This is one of those persistent pricing anomalies that seems completely counterintuitive until you understand international currency and point-of-sale dynamics.
Look at this example. If you book a standard round-trip ticket originating in the United States, say Detroit to London, and then back to Detroit a week later, it might cost $880.
It's typical.
But if you search those exact same dates, flying on the exact same physical planes, but you originate the ticket in Europe, meaning you book London to Detroit, and then back to London, the price drops to $670. It's a $200 difference, just based on where the ticket mathematically starts.
It highlights how airlines price based on the purchasing power, currency valuation, and expected travel habits of the originating market. U.S. travelers are historically accustomed to paying higher domestic and international fares. The U.S. dollar is strong, and corporate travel budgets are high.
Makes sense.
The European market, however, has fiercer low-cost competition from trains and budget airlines, which drags average consumer price expectations down. The airline algorithm adjusts the price based on where it thinks the buyer lives.
So how do you actually use this? If I live in Detroit, I can't just magically start my trip in London.
The strategy is designed for frequent serial travelers. If you cross the Atlantic multiple times a year, you essentially buy a cheap one-way positioning flight to Europe just to start the cycle.
Oh, I see.
Then, while you are physically in Europe or using a European point of sale online, you buy a round-trip ticket from Europe to the US and back. You use the first half of that ticket to fly home to Detroit. Then, months later, you use the second half of that ticket to return to Europe for your next vacation. You perpetually lock yourself into the cheaper European pricing ecosystem.
That is wild. It's like Inception for flight booking. You're always flying the back half of a previous ticket. And the last geographic hack here completely shifts how we view layovers. Most people hate layovers. We pay extra to avoid them. We want direct flights. But the strategy here is don't fear the layover. Use it as a free destination.
This is a brilliant way to maximize the value of your airfare. Many major global transit hubs have realized that they can significantly boost their local tourism economy by offering 24 to 72-hour visa-free transit programs for passengers passing through.
Places like Dubai, Istanbul, Singapore, Reykjavik.
Exactly. Instead of booking a grueling 2-hour layover where you are sprinting through a crowded terminal just to catch your connection, you actively use the search tools to deliberately look for flights with a massive 24-hour or 48-hour layover in one of these hub cities.
Why would you want that?
The airline does not charge you extra for the long layover. In fact, flights with extremely long layovers are almost always cheaper because they are deemed highly undesirable by time-sensitive business travelers.
But for you, the savvy leisure traveler, it means you land in Istanbul, you walk right out of the airport without needing to apply for a complex visa. You spend an entire day eating incredible street food, exploring the Grand Bazaar, staying in a cool hotel, and then the next day you head back to the airport to continue your trip to Asia or Europe. You just got a 2-country vacation for the airfare price of one.
Some airlines, like Turkish Airlines or Icelandair, even subsidize your hotel room if your layover is long enough. It transforms an exhausting inconvenience into a massive asset. You are extracting maximum geographic value from a ticket you already had to buy anyway.
So we've figured out how to cross the ocean for $300 and how to hack our geography to see 2 cities for the price of one. But my knees hurt just thinking about a 14-hour flight in a basic economy middle seat. Is there a way to apply this exact same algorithmic logic to the front of the plane? Let's talk about luxury on a dime and how to hack business class.
This is where we move beyond just securing physical displacement and start talking about the premium experience. And the very first strategy here connects perfectly to what we just discussed about layovers. It's called layover leverage.
The idea that if you want cheap business class, you actually want an inconvenient layover. Why?
It goes directly back to who typically buys business class: time-sensitive executives. A CEO values their time above all else. They will pay an exorbitant premium for a direct, non-stop flight so they can maximize sleep and get straight to the boardroom. They despise connections because connections introduce the risk of delay.
So the airline prices the non-stop direct business class flight at, say, $3,000 because they know the CEO will pay it.
Precisely. But if an airline offers a competing route with a short layover, say, New York to Delhi, but with a 2-hour stop in Mumbai, the executives won't touch it. Because corporate demand is practically zero, the algorithm violently slashes the price to attract leisure travelers. Adding just that single layover can drop a business class fare from $3,000 down to $1,800.
That is a 40% discount just for hanging out at an airport for 2 hours. And honestly, hanging out at an airport when you have a business class ticket is not exactly a hardship.
Not at all. That is the hidden perk of this strategy. A business class ticket grants you complimentary access to the premium airline lounges during your layover. We're talking high-end buffet dining, open bars with premium liquor, private shower suites to freshen up, nap pods, and a quiet, serene environment. The layover essentially becomes a luxurious extension of your vacation rather than a stressful wait at a crowded gate.
Okay, but what if I don't even want to pay the $1,800 up front? What if I want to gamble? There's a whole strategy detailed here called the upgrade auction. This is for people who intentionally book an economy ticket but want to try to sneak their way to the front of the plane at the very last minute.
This strategy relies entirely on the airline revenue manager's desperate desire to never, ever fly an empty premium seat. As departure day rapidly approaches, usually 24 to 48 hours before check-in, the airline algorithms conduct a final assessment of the business class cabin. If there are 4 unsold seats, they realize the last-minute corporate buyers aren't coming. At that exact moment, any revenue is better than zero revenue.
So they turn to the people in the back of the plane.
Exactly. They will send out automated emails or offer pop-up prompts during the online check-in process, allowing economy passengers to blindly bid money for an upgrade. It's essentially a silent auction. You enter a dollar amount, and if yours is the highest when check-in closes, you get the seat.
So how much do you bid? Because you don't want to bid so high that you ruin the deal and overpay, but you don't want to bid so low that someone else beats you by $1. The expert breakdown provided a very specific mathematical formula for this.
The optimal formula is to bid somewhere between 20% to 40% the price difference between the standard economy fare you paid and the current retail price of the business class fare.
Okay, let's do the math on that. If I bought my economy ticket for $500, I look online and the business class ticket is currently listed at $2,000. The difference between the two is $1,500. So I need to calculate 20% to 40% of that $1,500 difference.
Which would mean you place a bid between $300 and $600. It's a calculated statistical gamble. It definitely won't work every time, especially on corporate-heavy routes like New York to London on a Monday morning where business class is always sold out. But on a leisure route, flying midweek to a vacation destination, it has a surprisingly high success rate.
But there is a massive catch here that people need to know. You absolutely cannot do this if you bought a basic economy ticket.
That is a crucial point of failure. Basic economy tickets are explicitly stripped of almost all privileges, including the eligibility to even participate in the upgrade auction. The system literally won't let you bid. If you plan to play the upgrade auction game, you must purchase at least a standard economy or premium economy ticket from the start.
You have to buy the slightly better cheap ticket to be allowed to bid on the expensive ticket. Got it. Now, my favorite pragmatic trick from this section is split cabins.
It's a wonderful, logical application of economics to physical comfort.
The idea is you don't need to fly business class for the entire journey. You evaluate your itinerary rationally. If you have a short 4-hour daytime flight for your first leg from your hometown to the hub, you just book economy. You sit there, read a book, watch a movie, answer some emails. It's fine.
Exactly. You tolerate the standard economy experience when your biological need for comfort and sleep is low.
But then, your second leg is a 12-hour overnight red-eye flight across the Pacific Ocean. That is where you selectively splurge on the business class ticket, so you get the lie-flat bed, sleep for 8 hours, and arrive in Asia, fully rested and ready to explore. You are selectively deploying your capital only where it provides the maximum physical benefit.
By splitting the cabin classes like that, it often cuts the total cost of flying premium completely in half while still delivering the restorative sleep you actually care about.
So what does this all mean for my inbox? Because all the strategies are telling you I need to be signing up for airline newsletters and frequent flyer programs to get these premium deals. Honestly, do I really need to sign up for more spam? I hate a cluttered inbox.
I completely understand the hesitation. Nobody wants more promotional emails. But the short, unavoidable answer is yes, you absolutely must.
But why? Can't I just use Google Flights and Hopper to see all the sales?
Not always, and certainly not the best ones. Airlines cultivate their email subscriber lists as their single most valuable direct marketing asset. When they have a massive flash sale or they need to quickly dump a block of premium business class seats without lowering their published fares, they do not push those prices to Google Flights right away. They reward their loyal, captive audience first. They send out unadvertised, highly targeted promotional codes.
So if you aren't on the list, you literally never even see the deal. It happens in the shadows.
Precisely. A prime example highlighted was a Delta SkyMiles deal offering 50% off business class redemptions to Europe that was completely unpublished outside of their direct email blast. If you weren't subscribed, you missed out on thousands of dollars in value.
So how do we manage the spam without losing our minds? There is a very clean technical fix suggested. You set up a dedicated secondary email address purely for travel, or use a specific filter in your Gmail. You route every single email coming from an airline address straight to a dedicated folder, bypassing your main inbox entirely.
It keeps your primary workspace clean and distraction-free, but it creates a dedicated, highly searchable database of potential flight deals that you can browse on your own terms, maybe once a week over coffee. It's a gold mine sitting patiently in a neat little folder.
Okay, we've chased the luxury, but we really need to look at the dark side of this algorithm. Because, as the data makes very clear, a $40 flight is rarely actually a $40 flight. Let's talk about the pitfalls and hidden costs of cheap.
This is where the emotional dopamine thrill of finding a ridiculously cheap fare often blinds us to the harsh economic reality of what we are actually purchasing.
I was reading this breakdown of the true budget airline reality. Someone did a video reviewing a flight on Peach Aviation, which is an ultra-low-cost carrier in Japan. And it perfectly illustrates the visceral trade-off. Yes, the ticket was roughly $50, which sounds amazing. Who wouldn't want to fly for $50?
Yeah.
But then you look at the physical experience.
It is a masterclass in extreme unbundling.
The reviewer pointed out that the legroom was astonishingly tight, like knees bruised against the plastic seat in front of you tight. They wouldn't accept credit cards for in-flight purchases, so if you didn't have exact local cash, you couldn't buy anything. And a kicker for me, they don't even give you a free cup of tap water. Nothing.
You have to understand the business model. You are paying exclusively for the physical displacement of your body mass from one geographical coordinate to another. That is it. Every other conceivable amenity water, picking your seat, putting a bag in the overhead bin, is an ancillary revenue stream designed to squeeze margin out of you. And this leads us to the concept of the total cost calculation, which is the single most vital mathematical skill for any traveler to master.
Right, because airlines have realized they can trick us. They've introduced the basic economy trap, even on the legacy carriers, Delta, United, British Airways.
And it operates on the exact same deceptive unbundling principle as the budget airlines. Let's run a comparison. You search a route and you see a fare on a major airline for $150 in basic economy. Right below it, you see a fare on a competing airline for $220 in standard economy. To the untrained eye, the $150 ticket looks like the obvious, smartest choice.
But then the fees hit you at checkout.
Exactly. You realize you need to check a suitcase because you're going away for a week. The basic economy ticket charges you $63 each way for the bag. Now your $150 ticket is $276. You want to sit next to your partner so you aren't separated for 6 hours. Seat assignment fee is $25 each. Now you're at $326. Some ultra-low-cost carriers in Europe even charge a $40 fee if you forget to print your boarding pass at home and need them to print it at the airport.
So suddenly, your cheap $150 ticket actually costs well over $300, and you would have been significantly objectively better off just buying the $220 standard ticket on the other airline that included a bag and a seat choice for free.
It requires a total paradigm shift in how you read a price tag. The advertised price on Google Flights is just the entry cover charge to get in the door. You have to aggressively forecast your actual human needs, bags, seats, food, flexibility, and mathematically calculate the true final cost before you ever hit the purchase button.
There are two other logistical warnings here that I think people completely overlook, and they can ruin a trip before it even starts. First is credit card name matching.
This is a devastating, heartbreaking way to be denied boarding at the airport.
The guides heavily emphasize this, particularly when booking on international apps or foreign websites. Sometimes people use prepaid Visa debit cards, or they use a friend's credit card to pay, or maybe a corporate card that just says company name without their specific personal name printed on the physical plastic.
And that is a massive red flag for international carriers. Certain airlines, particularly in regions dealing with high rates of credit card fraud, like parts of Asia or South America, have incredibly strict security policies. They require you to physically present the exact credit card used to make the online booking to the agent at the check-in counter.
And if the name physically printed on the card doesn't perfectly match the name on your passport and your ticket,
They can, and frequently do, deny boarding right there on the spot. They will cancel your ticket. Your trip is over. Always ensure the payment method bears the exact matching name of the traveler, or be prepared to jump through massive, time-consuming customer service verification hoops at the airport if it doesn't.
wow, just a brutal way to end a vacation. And the second warning is about currency manipulation. When you are using these global aggregators or using a VPN to search regional sites, you might find an amazing deal priced in a foreign currency, say Thai baht or euros.
Which can absolutely offer legitimate savings, but it also introduces severe exchange rate risk.
You have to eagle eye the final checkout page. Sometimes a booking site will quietly, sneakily, auto-convert the price back to your home currency at the very last second before you click buy. And they use an incredibly terrible inflated exchange rate, what they call dynamic currency conversion, that completely wipes out all the savings you thought you found. They pocket the difference.
Always choose to pay in the local currency of the airline, and let your own travel credit card handle the conversion at the fair market rate.
And this touches on a broader point about protecting your downside. When you are piecing together these highly complex, hacked trips, maybe utilizing virtual interlining with Kiwi or booking multi-day layovers, you are inherently introducing multiple points of potential failure into your itinerary.
Every connection is a chance for weather or a mechanical failure to ruin the domino effect of your trip, which is exactly why you are strongly advised to purchase these complex flights using a premium credit card that explicitly includes built-in trip delay and cancellation insurance. If a snowstorm causes you to miss a connection, or you are forced into an unexpected overnight layover, having a card that automatically reimburses you for the emergency hotel, the taxi, and the meals is the ultimate safety net.
It's about protecting the downside of your cheap ticket. Okay, we have covered the algorithms, the booking windows, the aggregators, the geographic loopholes, the luxury upgrades, and the hidden traps. And all of this leads us to the absolute pinnacle of this deep dive. This is where we pull it all together into a unified theory.
This is where we elevate from tactical piecemeal tips to a fundamental philosophy of modern travel.
One of the experts in the material delivered a line that I honestly want to print out and frame. They said, if you truly want to win at this game, stop planning trips and start collecting deals.
It completely radically inverts standard consumer behavior.
Think about how almost everyone on Earth plans a vacation. We sit down at the dinner table and say, I want to go to Japan next October. We decide the exact destination, we lock in the exact dates, and then we go to the computer to see what it costs. And we just swallow hard and pay whatever exorbitant price the algorithm demands because we've already emotionally committed to the trip.
You are approaching a highly volatile, ruthlessly algorithmic market with absolute stubborn rigidity. You are trying to force the algorithm to accommodate your specific desires, and the algorithm punishes rigidity with high prices.
So how do we flip the script? What does it actually mean to collect deals?
It requires a psychological shift. You start by making a broad list of 5, 10, maybe 15 places in the world you would genuinely love to visit at some point in your life. Costa Rica, Spain, New Zealand, wherever. You do not assign dates to them. You just have the list. Then you utilize the automated services we discussed earlier, the deal alert newsletters like Going, Secret Flying, the Flight Deal. You set up broad fare alerts originating from your home airport.
And then you just wait.
You passively monitor the market. You let the massive data processing power of these tech companies do the heavy lifting. You live your life. And then, one random Tuesday afternoon, an alert hits your inbox, a massive price drop. a $400 round-trip ticket to Paris for a 2-week window in the spring.
And that is when you strike. You don't say, oh, let me think about if Paris sounds fun. Paris was already on your list. You have a $400 ticket staring you in the face. You book the ticket immediately. And then you go to your boss and ask for those specific dates off. You let the deal completely dictate the destination and the timing.
What's so beautiful about this approach is that you're totally removing the struggle. You aren't fighting the algorithm to squeeze out a measly $20 discount. You're just sitting back with a massive net, waiting for the algorithm to trip over itself and drop gold right into your lap.
Waiting for the algorithm to trip over itself. That brings us to the most extreme version of this, what the insiders call error fares or mistake fares.
These are the white whales, the absolute holy grail of cheap flights.
Explain how these even happen. Because in an age of supercomputers, how does an airline accidentally sell a ticket for pennies?
It happens because, eventually, humans are still involved in the back end. Sometimes, an employee makes a fat finger typing error when inputting a base fare into a global system. Sometimes, there's a catastrophic glitch in how a website calculates complex currency conversions between 3 different countries. Suddenly, a $3,000 first-class ticket to Dubai is accidentally listed online for $300, or a standard transatlantic flight to London drops to $40 round trip.
These are genuine, massive blunders by the pricing system.
They are, but because they are errors, they disappear incredibly fast. The airline's automated revenue protection systems usually catch the error and pull the fare offline within a few hours, sometimes minutes. So if you get an alert on your phone for an error fare, the golden rule is you do not think. You do not text your friends to coordinate dates. You do not check with your spouse. You book it immediately.
The speed of execution is literally the only thing that matters. But wait, I have to ask, what if I aggressively book a $300 mistake fare to Dubai? And then an hour later, I look at my calendar and realize I have a wedding that weekend or a massive project due at work, and I can't actually go. Am I just out the $300?
This is where we need to introduce the ultimate legally protected safety net. It's known as the U.S. Department of Transportation's 24-hour rule.
This is such a crucial piece of consumer protection. How does it work?
By federal law, if your flight touches the United States in any way, meaning it departs from a U.S. airport, or arrives at a U.S. airport and the departure date is more than 7 days away, the airline must allow you to cancel that booking within 24 hours for a full, no questions asked refund directly to your original payment credit card.
A full refund, not a travel voucher, not a credit for future flights, no cancellation fees subtracted.
None. The law strictly requires it. So let's play out the scenario. That insane $300 mistake fare to Dubai drops. You see it. You buy it instantly on your credit card to lock in the pricing glitch before the airline fixes it. Now, the clock starts. You have a legally protected 24-hour grace period to look at your calendar, talk to your boss, text your friends, figure out childcare, and decide if the trip is actually feasible. If it works, great, you're going to Dubai for $300. If it doesn't work, you simply click cancel within 24 hours and get every single penny back.
It completely 100% de-risks the spontaneous booking. It's an absolute superpower for grabbing deals without fear.
It is the specific legal mechanism that allows the collecting deals philosophy to actually function in the real world without bankrupting you on mistakes.
Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today. Let's look at the overarching journey we've just been on. We started by tearing off the veil of the algorithm. We learned that dynamic pricing is just a hyper-aggressive reflection of supply and demand, and we learned how to dodge the automated fare bucket trap by always searching for tickets one passenger at a time. We realized that incognito mode is a myth born of paranoia, and that prices jump because seats are actually selling.
It's all about the buckets.
Right. Then we looked at the calendar. We found the Goldilocks booking window, 1 to 3 months for domestic, 2 to 8 months for international, and identified the shoulder seasons as the absolute perfect intersection of good weather, low crowds, and cheap fares. We also learned why you should never buy business class a year in advance.
Because the corporate buyers will outspend you.
Exactly. Then we completely upgraded our search toolkit, moving way beyond basic single-city searches. We used the Google Flights date grid to visualize monthly drops, Hopper's AI to predict the future, and Kiwi's risky but brilliant virtual interlining to stitch together budget carriers. We learned to hack our geography with cheap positioning flights to major hubs. We discussed the extreme caution needed for hidden city skip lagging, and we learned to turn dreaded layovers into free mini vacations in cities like Istanbul and Dubai.
Make the layover part of the trip.
Yeah. We figured out how to secure luxury on a dime by leveraging inconvenient layovers to drop business class fares, bidding in the upgrade auction, and selectively splitting our cabin classes to sleep comfortably only when we truly need to. We face the harsh, knee-crushing reality of budget airline traps, remembering to constantly calculate the total final cost, including bags, seats, and fees before hitting buy.
The total cost calculation is everything.
And finally, we flipped the entire travel paradigm on its head. We committed to stop forcing rigid plans onto the algorithm and instead to set our alerts, embrace spontaneity, pounce on mistake fares using the 24-hour rule, and let the deals dictate our destinations.
If you step back and connect this to the bigger picture of how we live, letting the price dictate your destination does so much more than just save you money. It strips away our rigid, almost obsessive need for control. In our modern lives, we are so deeply conditioned to script every single aspect of our existence, exactly where we will go, exactly when we will go there, and exactly how the itinerary will unfold. But what if the secret to true adventure isn't in the planning? What if it's simply leaving your front door unlocked, setting an alert, and letting the world invite you to a place you never even considered?
That is exactly it. It's about being open to the invitation of the unknown. So, set up your fare alerts, double-check your passport expiration date right now, and stay curious. You've got the tools. It's time to let the algorithm work for you. Have an amazing trip, and we will catch you on the next Deep Dive.